Everybody, thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Menace to Society. So I actually reviewed this movie over on Rashaji Reviews channel sometime last year, and I knew that this was definitely one of those movies that I do a collab for, that I wanted to do a review on my channel for at some point, and I thought I'd have somebody else watch it with me, and that was Blacktastic Media. I knew he had already seen the film, but I was definitely looking forward to seeing his thoughts because I saw that on his channel he has not made a video about this movie. So Menace to Society came out in 1993 and is the story of a man named Kane who was raised in the hood. The whole film takes place in the hood, and on the surface what I really enjoy about this film is that it could just appear as a film about the hood and the black community in and of itself. And though that is true on so many levels, and this film touches on prejudice and racism, at the core of this film is a story of what can happen to somebody when they are raised in a hood of any sort. I grew up in South Florida in the Miami area and definitely saw the black hood, the Hispanic hood, the white hood, the hood that was a mix of all of them. And what I can definitely say is I know people who have just been sent down the path of darkness, who are no longer alive, or just are kind of not in a good place in their life because of how they were raised, where they were raised, and the kind of people they chose to be around. This movie at its core is about what can happen to somebody who is raised in a household with drugs and violence. How the peer pressure of a lot of people and those that you actually spend your time around can send you down a path of darkness, and in the case of Kane, by the end of the film, jumping right into spoilers, his death. This movie at its core is about a man who grows up again in violence, around drugs, around greed and selfishness, and by the end of the film, when he recognizes that he wants something better for himself, that he wants to get out, that it's too late, that the people that he's chosen to associate himself with, the things he's chosen to do, have all built up to this moment where now it's an inescapable situation and he dies. He ends up getting killed because of his actions, because of those around him, because of the path he chose to lead. And it's heartbreaking because the tagline of this film, I don't know it off the top of my head, I probably should have written it down, but the tagline of this film, essentially talks about like this being what's real. And that's what I really love about this film, is that when you're watching it, it has such a great sense of naturalism. The performances in this film are incredibly well done, and it all feels so real, almost to a terrifying degree. It's an incredibly well-directed film, well-paced film that, again, touches on things like prejudice and racism, but really at its core is a story of how somebody raised in this environment, no matter what your skin color, can, be stuck down a path of darkness and bad decisions. And even those, not always, but for many who try to get out of it, sometimes it's just too late. Tyron Turner, who plays the character Kane, who ends up dying at the end of the film, I think he's an incredible actor. He really brings a lot of humanity to this character. There's times when you're watching the movie where you just want to slap him, you just want to punch him, you just want to beat him up. You're just like, dude, you're making the worst and most selfish and terrible decisions. He's a horrible person in those moments. But then there are times where you can see his regret, you can see his growth as a person and his recognition that the path that he's on is not right. He starts to develop feelings for this girl played by Jada Pinkett Smith in the film. He starts to, kind of grow a heart and become a better person when he's around her. And eventually he decides that he's ready to leave his life, this life that he's been a part of essentially just being in darkness and being in violence and drugs and dealing with terrible situations with terrible people, to be with this girl in a new place. And he ends up dying because everything he's done so far, everyone he's been around, has kind of led to this moment. It's ballooned to this moment where now this whole dark world that he was trying to escape is inescapable. I think without a doubt one of the scariest performances in this film is the character of O-Dog, played by Larenz Tate. I've seen him in some other movies, especially thanks to Rashaji Reviews, who has put me onto a couple of movies that he's in, and I can say he's a really good actor. I really enjoy him. I think this is the best performance I've personally seen of his, and what really makes it kind of scary to me is how real it feels. If I didn't know that this guy was an actor, I would think that this is essentially who this guy is. He is so natural in the role, so believable, and it's kind of scary. He plays this character who is just ruthless. He is selfish and he doesn't really care who gets hurt along the way. He's cocky, he's young, he's dumb, and he's just kind of wild, and he kind of gets a kick out of it. He literally has a whole section of the film where he killed these two people in this gas station or this corner store, and he ends up taking the video cassette that actually had the murder on it and is like showing it to his friends with pride. And the sad reality is that there are people like this in real life. There are people that are so cruel and so vicious and so malicious and just are so desensitized to death and the harm that they cause, that they are these kinds of people. And I think that Larenz Tate plays the character in a very terrifying but so realistic way that it's incredibly captivating while you're watching it. Like I mentioned, this film also stars somebody like Jada Pinkett Smith and also has a small performance from Samuel L. Jackson, but it's a small role, but it's incredibly effective. At the core of this film is, again, the story of a man trying to eventually escape his dark past, and it ends up catching up with him, and he ends up dying before he can do so. This film does not have a happy ending, and it gets incredibly real. I totally meant to have Blacktastic talking at this point, but I was just rambling my thoughts a little bit too long. But let's go ahead and hear what he had to say about this one.
What's up? It's your boy, kicking it on my favorite channel to do collabs, my man Anthony A. Perez. My man hit me up to do a review on the movie Menace II Society, directed by the Hughes Brothers back in 1993. And a lot of these movies got funny date stories attached to them. I remember, man, oh shit, man, I was dating this girl. She was half Japanese and half white. She had blonde hair, a banging body, Japanese eyes that were green. Fine as fuck. And it was like her first or second date. I'm like, what do you want to go see? She came pick me up. I want to see Menace II Society. I'm like, God damn, I don't know if that's a good choice. You know, go out there with a, oh, fuck. But I really wanted to see this movie. So we went. I'm walking in with this snow bunny, half Japanese chick, and none but black people in the theater to watch Menace II Society. Oh my God. The decisions I made when I was a young man. But this movie is deemed a classic. Back in the 90s, there was a surge of gangster films being made. And this movie really stood out as one of the best besides Boys in the Hood. And man, these characters, Kane, Old Dog, and Ronnie, these three characters were the main moving force and driving force through the whole film. Kane is a little boy at home with his parents and watching a card game. And this card game got out of hand, somebody got shot. When you see somebody get shot in your own house at a young age, it scars you for life. Samuel L. Jackson had a small role in this movie, and man, let me tell you, you'll never forget it. It was amazing. He grows up, he's a young teen, living with his grandparents, and he's hanging out with his buddy Old Dog. Old Dog is ruthless, crazy, don't give a fuck, deep into the gangster religion. And he does something in the beginning of the movie at an Asian store that's going to haunt them throughout the course of the film. You know, when you have that steel in your hand, you feel invincible. You feel like you're 10 feet tall. And when you're young, you cannot keep your mouth shut. You have to brag about what you did. And if you got some evidence or videotape to show your friends, dude, you can't trust everybody you show a tape to about something you did. That breaks the law, let alone murder. When you got a friend like that, like the Bible says, bad association spoils useful habits. If you hang around crazy motherfuckers, crazy things are going to happen to you, and you're going to go down. And Kane is he's a good kid deep down inside, but growing up in the hood, you just take on responsibilities of a hood life that you can't dismiss right away. And you lie to the people that you love and live with. But Kane was, handsome dude, nice ride, making money on the side, seeing girls, got one girl pregnant. He tried to dismiss her. The cousin got involved. He whooped his ass. And something like that will always come back to haunt you. If you do something ill in the hood, dude, you're not getting away with it. This ain't the 1950s. You slap a woman and it's all over with. Not in the hood, buddy. If you do something dirty, you're gonna get got. People want revenge. And then later on, Ronnie meets Kane and they hit it off real well. She's a little older, got a kid, a little boy. He's learning how to be in a relationship. He got permission from the baby's daddy while he was in prison. Yo, Kane, I'm in here. Ronnie really likes you. Do that. Get the hell up out the hood and get a better life. But throughout this movie, Kane and Old Dog are doing things that's going to come back to haunt them. And once you establish that, and you're drinking, walking around with that still, feeling 10 feet tall, and people you think disrespect you, and you try to be the man and man up, man, that shit is stupid because it's going to come back to haunt you. And this movie, on a small budget, was done brilliantly. This movie is incredible. It's intense. The soundtrack is slamming. And a lot of the locations in this movie are right down the street from where I grew up at, man. I remember a lot of the locations, watching the movie going, oh, yeah, I remember that. But this movie basically is a romantic story about a man trying to do better and get out the hood for a better life. He was one of the ones that had a chance. But like I said earlier, the folks you hang around is like a noose around your neck. They're going to choke your ass out and eventually you're going to die. That's the way it is. And in the path of destruction, innocent people will die because of you and your previous actions. And this movie, you seen brothers find religion. You seen brothers who never grow up and just be stupid. And you seen brothers who find love and compassion and a way out. And as usual, you find a way to fuck it up. That's just the way the hood don't love you. It consumes you. It destroys you. It will demolish your dreams. That's why when people make it out the hood into the NBA and stuff like that, it's a win for us. Like, for instance, growing up in Compton, one of my favorite Fulton groups came out of Compton. One of my favorite directors came out of Compton. You don't know this, but man, Ava DuVernay, born and raised in Compton. The Williams sisters, sports tennis players, Olympians, came out of Compton. Some of the best music came out of Compton. Of course, NWA. And when you make it out of Compton, just try to educate others to do the same as you did. You ain't got to forget where you come from. But like my man Rakim said, it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. And that's what it's all about. And this movie will punch you in the gut. These movies has ways of thinking like, okay, we're gonna have a good ending. Bam. And it's a sad story. And it's one that you walk out the theater feeling different. And where I'm from, it's reality. I seen it coming a mile away. And I love this movie. The Hughes Brothers went on to do a few other films that I like. Haven't heard from them in a long time, but they're some talented brothers, man. But this is probably easily their best film that they ever made. Sometimes you're a victim of your own success. Your first film sometimes might be your best film, and you can never, ever duplicate that or come close to it in measurements when you're making another film. This movie was also nominated for 4 awards and won 2 at the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah, this movie made some noise in Hollywood. But Menace to Society is a hood classic. It's a gangster classic. It is definitely a watch and one that you will never forget. With that, I say like, share, subscribe to my channel, to my man Anthony A. Perez channel. Get educated on movies, because this channel right here, Anthony A. Perez, is like school. My man's the teacher and I'm the sub. Get with it. Learn something. Until next time, peace, and remember, it's just my point of view.
A big thanks to Blacktastic for being here in this video, my friend. Always love hearing your thoughts on movies, hearing your take, your point of view. As usual, guys, you can find the link to his channel down below in the description box. Go give him some love and let him know I sent you. Yeah, man, this is just a great movie. I don't have an abundance to say on the back end of this review. I said way more in the first half than I meant to, but this is an incredibly well acted and directed film that I do highly recommend. A film that touches on the black community and the hood in the way that a lot of people may think of it, but at the same time, I think at the core really is a story of how anybody who is raised in this situation, no matter your skin color, and these kind of people and the decisions that you choose to make in those situations, who you choose to spend your time with, it will lead you down a path that in this case can lead to death, an early death, even if you realize that everything you've done in the past and the people you've spent your time around are not worth it anymore. Sometimes it could just be too late. Sometimes this is reality for so many people, and I have to commend this film for being so real and really touching on serious situations and serious topics while not shying away from really what ends up happening in the end. I love that this film doesn't have a happy-go-lucky ending. I mean, you know, I think if the character of Cain would have gotten out of this situation, I think there would have been something to enjoy about the film. I think it wouldn't have ruined the ending of the film, I think, on an overall, but the impact of him actually dying is really what really puts the nail in the coffin. You know, it really sets in the great sense of reality while you're watching this film. So I'm going to stop rambling now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment your thoughts down below. Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Please, down below in the description box, go give Blacktastic Media some love. And as usual, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.